Max Verstappen, F1's youngest Formula One driver to ever join the grid at 17, born from Hasselt, Belgium, was once known as Crashtappen.
Not be out there.
We can put that down to a suspension.
Way in. And he has to. It was a
Precarious position. Lots of try, yeah. So it's a similar thing to what happens. Yeah, I mean, Max is on what you would call.
What ended up giving Max Verstappen the name Crashtappen? Max Verstappen was once a 17-year-old boy who ended up gaining the name Crashtappen. Crashtappen was Verstappen's name up until really recently, till the 2021 and 2022 season. Many people knew him as the guy that caused the most accidents, the most aggressive driver, the driver that really would not give any space while driving. Were these justified comments? Was it really justifiable to actually have Max have this nickname that wasn't quite a good nickname? Well, we're gonna go over his career and how he changed his career from a Crashtappen nickname to now the two-time world champion and many people calling our future GOAT. Starting his career, he was 17, the youngest F1 driver to actually join the grid. Nobody was even able to join the grid at 17, and now it is illegal to join the grid at 17. You have to actually be 18 to join F1 and have the super license points. Max was the only exception to this rule at that time period. He's actually changed the way that Formula One now works and what the rules are. He joined Toro Rosso, which was Red Bull's quote-unquote junior team, really the sister team, and now known as AlphaTauri. While joining Toro Rosso at the age of 17, he did have quite notable performances. Finishing that 2015 season, which was his first season in Formula One, he finished with 49 points, which was almost 30 points more than Carlos Sainz himself. Carlos finishing with 18 points. So he outperformed somebody that we now know as a great driver, which is Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari team. He outperformed him, he still outperforms him. So what was the reason behind him being known as Crashtappen? To start off his career, Max started off his career very fitting to the nickname that he was given. He had a DNF in Australia, then a DNF in China, Bahrain, Monaco, Great Britain, and that was the DNFs that he had his 2015 season. While most were mechanical failures like the Australia and the China failures, he did have his quote-unquote collisions, like the famous one that we all know of in Monaco with Roman Grosjean when he was going for the overtake in the first turn. He then also had an accident in Britain, which was a failure from himself. These are his most notable accidents in the races. There were actual accidents caused by himself in practices and qualifying, but I'm not really counting those because everybody is trying to get the limit on the car, learning the car. I'm talking more about race collisions and where that nickname really stems from. You don't get it from practice and qualifying. But for the rest of that 2015 season, his first season in Formula One, his first real time driving a Formula One car legitly into races, he finished twice fourth, one time in Hungary, which was an extremely impressive feat for a race that is known to be one of the hardest on the grid by how you have to control the throttle and where you're braking, and overtaking is really hard over that track too. United States was another one of those fourth place finishes in a Toro Rosso car that was well behind the rest of the grid. It wasn't like the AlphaTauri car we got in 2021, it was a slower car, and him performing at this level was very impressive for a 17-year-old turning 18. The rest of the season was mixed with results close to 10th place, sometimes hitting that 8th place, but really those standout performances was the 4th place in Hungary and the 4th place in the US. These were huge performances for Max Verstappen and really what stemmed his career into a bigger career. 2016 comes along, and many people don't know that Max Verstappen actually started his 2016 career still with Toro Rosso for the first 4 races. As Toro Rosso was known as Toro Rosso Ferrari, they were using a Ferrari engine, he was still performing well to start the season in that Toro Rosso with a 10th, 6th place, 8th place, and a DNF in Russia. That is how Max Verstappen's 2016 started. This is the year that is famously known as Max Verstappen losing out to Daniel Ricciardo, but when you look at it in this type of retrospect, you can't really say that he lost out to Daniel Ricciardo when his first 4 races of the season weren't even in the same car. The first time they put Max Verstappen in a Red Bull, he goes on to win his first race in a Red Bull car in Spain, which was kind of lucky due to Nico Rosberg and Hamilton colliding, but guess what? He still ended up performing better than Daniel Ricciardo, who knew the Red Bull inside out, and getting his first win of his Formula One career as a Red Bull driver. The race that is known where Max was actually given the name Crashtappen. This was where you see that famous, "I'm gonna headbutt you if you talk more about this." It was talked about all the collisions and everything. This is the famous race as Monaco 2016, where Max actually crashed 3 times this weekend. One time in FP3, one time in qualifying, and the last time being in the actual race due to an accident that he caused upon himself. All these incidents were mistakes made from just driving the car way too fast, which was a common problem with a lot of F1 drivers, and we still see that nowadays with even Charles Leclerc in France in 2022. Overdriving was a common problem that Max Verstappen really had for himself in his beginning years, and took him a while to really find his steps, and caused him to be in these accidents that he didn't really want to cause, but ended up happening due to him overdriving the car. There isn't much notable accidents from the 2016 season, but there were collisions with other drivers, which didn't end up actually making him DNF, but there were accidents that ended up giving that nickname and making it more profound. The 2017 season comes along, and Max Verstappen yet again shows why he is an amazing caliber driver, but it is a season where he gets plenty of DNFs and causes many collisions that shouldn't have been happening. Bahrain had its first accident in the 2017 season, but this was a failure due to the brakes and not really Max Verstappen causing the collision. But Spain comes along and Max Verstappen gets his first collision of the year, which was a terrible mistake on his part and just overdriving really the car and going for overtakes that weren't possible in that moment. 2018 is where I think Max Verstappen's fortune changes. It is a season where Max Verstappen really brings out, I would say, the better in himself and really tries competing harder to not cause as many collisions, and is kind of getting to grips with the Formula One overtaking rules and how he can actually get the most out of the car. Max Verstappen has always been known as somebody that will push the limits of the FIA to see when will they give him a penalty and when won't they, because he is a late breaker and probably the latest on the grid. 2018 was another step in improvement, destroying his teammate in 2018 and really showing who Max Verstappen is as a driver. With wins coming in Austria and Mexico, and honestly should have been a win in Brazil if it wasn't for the stupid Ocon incident that ended up happening. 2019, another year where Max Verstappen pushes his limits yet again and continues to show why he is one of the best and greatest of all time before even having a really championship winning car. The Red Bull in 2019 was strong, but was convincingly the 3rd fastest car on the grid. With the season starting with a 3rd, a 4th, 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 3rd, 4th, 5th, 4th, 1st, he was continuing on and really killing it in the year when it came to consistency. Not DNFs, not collisions, but consistency throughout the whole entire year. Max finished the season with his most wins in the year being 3 at that in 2019 with a car that was 3rd at best. So it was a incredible year for Max, continuing to improve and really losing that agenda of being the driver that likes to cause collisions, but is an aggressive driver. Now, 2020 was the real change in Max Verstappen's career. It was the year that actually gave Max Verstappen the opportunity to be probably the 2nd fastest car on the grid. His consistency is improved. The Mercedes car was much faster, but the Red Bull was improving. And we get into the years that are the most important, which are 2021 and 2022, and are now the years that we know as Max Verstappen World Championships and Max Verstappen as the 2-time world champion. The guy that drives from Netherlands that was 17 at some point is now a 2-time world champion with no nickname associated with him, but known as one of the aggressive drivers on the grid and also one of the best drivers to ever really step foot into a Formula One car. The improvement came over time. He overdrove a lot. Collisions still do come. He is an aggressive driver. He will push the limits on any driver that is next to him, specifically Lewis Hamilton, if we're being honest. But that is the traits that comes with Max Verstappen. He is competitive. He is fierce. He is not somebody like a Bottas who will really kind of just give up the position. He will fight for the position, whether he has the fastest car in the grid or the slowest car in the grid. Every position matters for Max, but specifically first place. It's either win or nothing for Max, and that he has proven when he is winning, he continues to win. The 2-time world champion is a driver that really shows the steps of being a young Formula One driver and why it takes time for somebody to actually step into the game and develop without actually kicking them out, quote unquote Haas, kicking out Mick. But He has shown true raw pace since the beginning of his years, since he was 17 to the age that he is now and the two-time world champion that he is now. Max Verstappen will only continue to get better, and really his growth is something incredible for the whole entire Formula One scene and should be inspiring drivers left and right, from youngest to oldest, on how to actually outperform a car and what the driving capabilities are of a Formula One car. Max Verstappen pushes that to the limit. Hope you guys liked the video. Please leave a like, subscribe, it would mean the world, and peace.